Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. Your host, Eddie Arnell, my man G Witt, and Mr.
Tighten
J.
up,
Lewis.
baby.
What's going on, fellas?
What's
Going
up?
on, gents? Tighten up.
Tighten up, man. Back again to bring you another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. So, guys, since we've been gone, the Titans finished up OTAs, right? And so now it's the anticipation, right, G? What we talked about a little bit last week is now it's wait time and it's downtime, and maybe they get a Cabo trip in, J. Lou. But so no movement on D Hop yet. We still looking for those contract restructures, J. Lou, man, before to kind of signal that. But any thoughts on that movement there, J. Lou?
Yeah, I think you probably got another week of quietness. I think they get through the holiday. We got the 4th is next week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, next week. So I think so I think after that, and then you get about 3 weeks from camp there. We got a camp report date of July 25th, if I'm not mistaken. So you about a week or two before then, you think it'll really ramp up. But it's all quiet on all ends right now. D Hop's playing it kind of like a veteran. I mean, he only got 2 teams out there. It's gonna come down to the money unless you got a contender that swoops in and decides to do something different with him. So I think it's smart on his end, on his end as well, to kind of hold off. But this is that time of the season, G Witt, that when we had those Pac-Man Jones days, you just prayed that you didn't see him being locked up or whatnot. So that's how Vrabel want right now is the guys who can come back in shape. You got a lot of guys that's putting on camps around their various hometowns or whatnot. But this is really the last downtime they got until the end of the season, whenever that might be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's going to be a whole different ball game for them. And I'll be honest with you, man. I think this offseason is very much different from the past, in the fact that when Vrabel ended the season, he called out the fact that the team was too many injuries, too many soft tissue injuries, too many repeat offenders, and then on top of that, additionally to being the slowest team on the field. And that's not just I think that's not just with overall speed as far as players was concerned, but I think it's also the overall speed in which the game was called and how the schemes worked and everything. So I think we probably see the King has already posted a video of him doing his leg workout. We know Byard is working out, so you probably can be for sure that McCreary is working out with Byard again. Mm-hmm. So I think what we're seeing is a little shift in how they approach these last few weeks. You might see them take a break or two, like you said, they're running their camps or whatever the case may be. But they're planning. I would guarantee everybody's planning on being in shape, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Simmons went to the pass rush camp again, didn't he?
He did.
He did.
So you can see the mentality of the leaders, and that they're expecting everybody else to follow suit. So yeah, I think this 6-week period is going to be a little bit different, and I expect to see some different things come training camp on the 25th.
Yeah, welcome to Will and Dion sitting there with us tonight, man. Appreciate y'all joining us, fellas. And so, anticipation, man. This is the hard part to wait it out, because we know we're waiting for camp to start, and camp starts at the end of July and still at the last part of June. And so a lot of things to wait on there. Shout out to Ken Lou in the building as well, man. Appreciate you joining us tonight. A lot of building on what you already mentioned, G Witt, about this offense and what it'll look like once they get on the field and start, putting the pads on and getting some preseason and even getting some joint practices in. And so it's going to be pretty interesting, man, as we move along, to see if they're going to do anything with that wide receiver room, any additions to what they got right now. Yeah. And so as we go into this fourth quarter part of the schedule, as we look at this last section, got some tough matchups. I think Jay Luger likes to call this first game not our first, but our second of 2 primetime games, a Monday night game against the Dolphins on the 11th of December. And Jay Lou likes to call this the track team of the NFL. So Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and we'll talk about one of the draft picks they got, Devon Achane from Texas A&M, running back. He ran a 4.3, and he was also part of their All-American Football 100 team. So that just adds more speed to that football team. But Miami, first year coach last season, still questionable at quarterback. Tua takes them where they want to go. In my opinion, 9-8 lost to the Bills in the wild card playoff, 34-31. And not only did they're in that win now mode, as we saw the Rams do a couple years ago, but They added Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill, and of course the biggest trade of the offseason is Jalen Ramsey. And so, Jalen, we saw it a lot last year, but I think you're gonna even see a lot more, particularly from the Dolphins that cover zero blitz scheme that they add, especially with Jalen Ramsey on the side of the defensive ball. They add David Long, some other pieces on that side of the ball.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, actually the biggest free agent pickup for them might have been, isn't this where Vic Fangio went? Defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
So
defensive coordinator, that's correct.
You give him that talent, and he's some coordinators, some coaches are better coordinators. We've seen that, and we've talked about that. And I think Vic Fangio is one of the better defensive coordinators. So you got that talent, but you hit it right on, man. This team only goes as far as Tua is willing to take them. They did pick up a Cynthia option, which is putting a lot of faith in him, and shows you that they think that. But man, the injuries, that concussion, whenever you hear a player talk about they actually reconsidered playing, that's scary. Right. I mean, that's scary because any hit, and I know they got the new helmets and stuff that's coming out to try to make it a little safer, but he took some shots last year that's just, as G Wood talked about, it's something about them Alabama quarterbacks. Great in college behind them big boys in college, but it ain't the same when you get to the NFL with that stature they got. But this should be, again, prime time. This is an up-and-coming team. We know that AFC East is a beast. And again, you talk about two shutdown corners that they got in Ramsey on one side, that they picked him up in the trade, and then just the weapons that they have at wide receiver. So this would be a measuring stick for sure. You're going against a playoff team. But again, the biggest wild card here, forget everything else, the biggest wild card, you saw this was a different team when they lost Tua last year. That offense just doesn't run the same without him.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, and I come over to UG with, is that they were 6th overall in the offense. It was kind of misleading because, like you said, Tua, they had Mike White at quarterback and some other things. Well, not Mike White, but they had some folks that were trying to fill in. What's his name? He left this year. I can't even think of the guy. He's been around. Wear the gloves when he plays quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater. Yes. So Teddy B was in that, so he got hurt. But yeah, G, talk about this Dolphins team and what kind of problems can they present for us?
Well, again, the biggest problem they're going to present for us is the fact that, like you said, it's a track meet with them. The running game is okay. It's not as strong, but the outside, it's a straight track meet, with Waddle and with Tyreek Hill. That's going to be a challenge. And again, defensively, they're going to be better, especially with Vic Fangio calling the plays and the players that they've added. Here's the Dolphins' Achilles heel, and you alluded to it with Tua, but not only just Tua. They got to be careful about injuries across the board. Bradley Chubb has not been a consistent player, but throughout the years, especially when he was in Denver, because he was constantly hurt.
Yeah,
right. David Long Jr. has already proven in their minicamp that he's dealing with those soft tissue issues and everything, so you can't necessarily depend upon him. And again, the thing with Tua, and you hit upon it, I would say this, in all honesty, for Tua, if he's playing because he doesn't want to give up yet.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, after that hit he took in Cincinnati and the way his hands look and everything, truthfully, he's playing with a ticking time bomb. And, one of the things they're going to be cautious of is the fact that it won't take much. It won't. See, that's the thing about it. He's had major concussions. He's had 2 major concussions in a single season. So, as we know in the past, what happened with Troy Aikman, what happened with Steve Young, those major concussions, man, when you start having those, it doesn't take much to take you out. I mean, you could be tackled and just basically fall down to the ground, and if your head snaps back, you may not even hit the ground, but your brain is moving inside your skull, and next thing you know, you got a bruise and it's worse. So that's their biggest issue. If they don't have a backup plan for Tua, then the Dolphins is going to be one of those teams that's just going to be on paper. They're going to look good, but if they don't have a backup plan for Tua, they're going to be in trouble, man.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Dion, Tua was sacked 21 times. They gave up 35 overall with all the QBs combined. And so they're not bad, but they're not one of the best. And I think that's what we can take advantage of them. In that particular week. And so, you got a primetime game, our dogs are gonna show up. They're gonna be ready to play. But I agree with you, G-Wit, man. Especially that second concussion he had when he just fell down. I mean, he wasn't even hit really. And you saw him, like you said, Jay Lou, he had that motion with his hands that just made it not look good at all.
Yeah.
And I saw that one time when I played. We was playing MTSU and the tight end got hit in his chin, man. He was just stiff like a board and like just froze up, man. It was the weirdest thing ever. But yeah.
No, not to cut you off, and listen, remember this.
No, go ahead.
We've seen this on the Titans. It happened with Frank Wycheck, man.
Yeah. Yes.
Last play he had for the Titans, he got hit, and was going for a pass, and his arm was stuck in pass catching mode, trying to make a one-handed catch.
Right.
So you see stuff like that, man, major concussions like that, that's nothing to play with, man. And really, if I don't know, they're gonna have to be careful with Tua. That's all. I'm not thinking about just for the win, but I'm just thinking about the player health. They're gonna have to watch that, man, because if he gets hit in early games or whatever, he's gonna be in trouble. He's going to be
Right, exactly. You're right, Deion. Again, if he's not there, then right, because Mike White, we saw him with the Jets last season. Yeah, he's a middle of the road quarterback. He's a backup quarterback for a reason, right? And so, but you're right. If he's not available, then it's going to be a different story for that offense. And so we go on, man, to week 15, and we get our first look at the Texans at on 12-17. It's a noon kickoff game. Of course, we saw what happened with them last year, 3-13-1. They draft C.J. Stroud with their first pick, one of their first picks, and they come back in the first round, so they trade up and get Will Anderson Jr. to add to that football team for youth movement. Of course, it starts with a new head coach in DeMeco Ryans. And he brings that defensive pedigree over from San Francisco. G. Whitman, they pick up Robert Woods. They add Jimmy Ward from the 49ers. They bring in a lot of talent as far as free agent guys. A lot of listed people on this list that they had. Denzel Perryman, somebody we talked about as linebacker for the Titans. That was one of the things. Shaquille Griffin, who was familiar with the AFC South. He played most of his career with Jacksonville. So you got some names on that side of the ball. It's going to be pretty interesting for the Texans, G, but it's tough no matter what.
Well, here's the thing with the Texans, and this is what we have to watch for, is their biggest Achilles heel over the past few years, in all honesty, was that they never could stop the run. Right. DeMeco Ryans, that's the first thing he's looking at. We're going to stop the run because, let's be honest, Derrick Henry has averaged almost 20 yards a game every time he plays the Texans. So we see this, man. This is going to be a tough one. C.J. Stroud, he's going to have a problem in the fact that, let's be real about it, the Texans' offensive line really isn't that great.
Mm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're paying Larry Tunsil, but Larry Tunsil is really not as consistent as everybody tries to make him out to be. He's good, don't get me wrong, but he's not as consistent as everybody tries to make him out to be. So it's really going to be incumbent upon our defense to really put pressure on them, because C.J. Stroud is going to be the starting quarterback by that time. In the season, if he's not starting from the beginning. So it's going to be interesting to watch this team and see how it goes. But offensively, they still don't really have a strong running game. And they let Brandon Cooks go. So I'm not sure who they're going to have on the outside as far as receivers are concerned. But it's going to be an interesting game. But I think defensively, this is one we take. And I think the thing you have to worry about them is not so much this year, because they're going to have their struggles. It's going to be the following year when C.J. Stroud gets a full off season under his belt under the same offense. That's when it's going to change. But this year, he's going to struggle a lot with all the different coverages and everything. He's doing good in the shorts and the jerseys and everything. But we all know it's different when you get the pads on in the regular season and they're coming in the bullets. So that's the whole thing. I just don't think that. I'm thinking that this is going to be a win for us, regardless.
Yeah, I do too. And let me stop right here and say shout out to Josh, man. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Travis White, what's going on, my guy? Taylor's with us tonight as well. Rodney, man, thank y'all for getting y'all's questions and comments. Keep them coming. We'll get them, man. We'll get them as they keep coming. So, Jay, let me mention something real quick. And so they pick up Devin Singletary to go along with Damian Pierce. So to your point, G, they want to improve their run game, right? So how do you help your rookie quarterback? You try to get a run game going. As I look at their depth chart, though, there's not a receiver that scares me on that that depth chart. And somebody asked us about our secondary. I feel pretty good, Rodney, about our secondary. What we got coming back this year, especially since they're gonna the front seven, in my opinion, is gonna be way better.
Yeah.
Well, potential to be way better than we had last year, and so that always makes the job easier for the secondary, right? But Jay Lewis, I look at this Texans offense, man. John Mechie the third, of course, he was out last year because he was dealing with cancer, but he's got a full health, bill of health, and so now you got him as a rookie again, basically. But talk to me about these Texans, man. What you think about them?
Yeah, I'm be honest. I ain't so confident about a tight win on this, but against these Texans in this game. So this is what week did you say this is? 15? Week 15?
Yeah, week 15. The first time we seen them. Yep.
First time we see them. It's a home game. I just have a feeling that the Titans are gonna roll out the Oilers jerseys against them and go all the hoopla around that.
Not the cold blue, man. Yeah, not the cold blue.
Because they're wearing the throwback Oilers this year, and I guarantee you it's just like the Adams family to want to wear them against the Texans. And I this is one of those games, and when I say I'm not confident in the Titans win, this is one of them games where I think the Texans are going to be very good and sneak up on people on defense. Think about what he did with that 49ers defense, and that's what they've done over there with the Texans. They built him a defense where he can kind of mimic that. So I think by week 15, you got that defense rocking and rolling where this is a game where I can see a turnover or two that we don't need to have and end up losing by a field goal. I hope I'm wrong, but that's how it kind of sets up. Because you got Bobby Slowick, his offensive coordinator, is coming over. He was the 49ers pass game coordinator last year. So I think you'll see some of that type of 49er offense style try to run with the Texans. But I think that this is a team that their defense will be clicking well before then. And this is one where the Titans and Tim Kelly and they're gonna have to bring their A game for real on offense. Because again, I think this is a game we always talk about those games that you got those trap games where you play down. And I don't necessarily want to say we play down to that level, but this is a game where you can allow the Texans defense to really keep their offense in the game to win it for you. Because you're right, on paper, the Texans offense, they're a year away. I feel like with all the young pieces, even with Mechie coming back, etc., they're about a year away. But I think their defense, especially by week 15, they might have enough close games in them to where they can sneak up. Because we know we can throw out the record when these two teams meet. the hatred is there. It's going to be there, and they'll be juiced up for it. And again, this is the first in what we playing. We win 2 weeks later. So this is gonna be a tough one for all the hoopla that I think is going to surround this game.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you, Travis. If we're healthy, we win the game. And it just hadn't been healthy this time of year, the last couple of seasons, and I think that's going to play a big part of it. But if you look at that defense, though, that they have, man, they got the potential to do something special. They got, like you said, they brought in some players that they're familiar with from the 49ers. They already had Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback. They bring in Shaquille Griffin to pair up with him, and then Jimmy Ward at safety. And Petrie was already one of the best young safeties in the league. And so you look at them, man, by week 15, it's the struggle going to be real. Now, they always come in, they play tough, man. They do
think about it. I mean, if you think about it, really, with that game, like I said, the question is going to be again. Their Achilles heel over the past 3 or 4 seasons has been they haven't been able to stop the run.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
And that's been their Achilles heel, and that's going to be the question for them. You know, they've always had I would say a decent pass defense, but I would say this. I agree with you, J. Lou. DeMeco Ryans will emphasize that, you know, the rivalry and everything, and making sure they understand how important it is to win that game.
Yeah.
But I just think, really, in all honesty, by that time, I just look at it from this standpoint. If we're in pretty good shape health-wise, and we should be clicking by that time as well, I just see us overall as a better team than the Texans.
I agree with you on that. Top to bottom, overall, we're better team. You're right. Yes. You're exactly right. Let's see. Ryder says, you think we'll win the D-Hop sweepstakes? Ryder, I think the Titans have a good chance. It's just depending on the money factor, right? It's just word is he wants a contract like OBJ. Are the Titans willing to do that? Or, like Jay Lee likes to break it down to, are they willing to give him a contract with some incentive laden parts to it, to say, hey, you can earn up to that $15 million if you do X, Y, and Z, right? And so, what do y'all think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on. I think it's gonna come back. I think what you just said at the end is what is gonna be the difference. It's gonna be who gives the most guaranteed as opposed to incentive lace. And I'll throw this wild card out there: who makes it a multi-year deal? Because right now, he's looking at a 1-year deal. Who could sweeten it and give you a 2-year deal? That might be something that tips it one way or another as well.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning from I'm learning from Lazard the Cap, man. I got to lay that down. I'm getting it. I'm getting it down. So.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot going on, but in all, you already know my feelings about this anyway. But I would say this: I'm still the same way. So, but I would say this though: if that does happen, it's going to be interesting to see because remember, this could. I would say this could be. You got to be careful about it because this could be another situation just like you had with Julio Jones. And I'm just gonna put it out there because the past couple of years, D Hop has been injury prone. Let's be real about it. So you could be running into that where he's gonna get to the point to where his body, his skills wise, catching the ball and everything, running the routes, yeah, but his body just doesn't hold up. And that's the biggest problem you have with this whole thing.
J. Lou Gian says, man, he disagrees. This is the first Texans game where we showed it a tie down and they here calling the plays for our offense this time around. So again,
I still think about that Texas game. Did we go up like 28-3 at halftime? The one with Clint, and then took our foot off the gas, and it was the Texans, and it was a closer game than it should have. It's these Texan games always just don't go the way that you think they should go.
No, they don't. Because remember, in that game, it was getting ready to go into overtime until
until AJ Brown.
AJ Brown with that long
AJ Brown. That's right.
That field goal that barely went in.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Like I said, these games have always been that way.
Yeah.
I mean, even when the year we went to the AFC Championship game, it was that way.
Yes. That game came down to the end.
It came down to the end. It's always going to be tight and everything, regardless of what goes on. So again, I just think overall, like I said, top to bottom, I think we're just a more talented team, and if we're in decent health at that time, I just see us winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at the quarterback position. So you know what happened last year when they came up here and we had our backup quarterback in the game, how that went. So, but anyway, again, thank y'all for joining us on the episode of Halftime Adjustment. Keep getting your comments, your questions in. Taylor says the Texans might be ready to go on vacation, J. Lou, at that time of year. So when it comes around, they might be.
I just don't see DeMeco Ryans team being that way. He gives off those Vrabel type vibes that you just don't think that team will ever lay down. Because the Titans, I think in the past, we would have saw that team lay down after like 3 losses in a row, 4 in a row last year and get it there. But I mean, we were 3 minutes away from ruining Jacksonville's season in Jacksonville. So I think that's the thing about the Texans and that hire. Even starting at the top with the GM and how they got rid of that older guy. I think you're seeing that culture shift down there that you just hope that we stay ahead of the curve so that we can stay in the position we're in that division.
Right. And so we'll go on to week 16 and another interesting game, a team that really shocked people, if you will, when they made it to the playoffs. The Seattle Seahawks at home, Christmas Eve. They finished 9-8. This is week 16. Lost to the 49ers in the wild card round, 41-23. Of course, Geno Smith gets the bag because he proves that he was a good fit for the offense. 13th overall on offense, 26 on the defensive side of the ball. Some notable free agents they bring up: Julian Love, free safety from the Giants. Bobby Wagner comes back, probably gonna finish his career out there. Devin Bush, linebacker from the Steelers, and then Mario Edwards, a familiar name that we had last year, signs with the Seahawks as well. So, the Seattle Seahawks, man, Pete Carroll still there coaching them up. He's a good coach as far, and then they play that 4-3 defense, like to play that cover 4 shell on the back end. Talk to me about the Seahawks, man.
Well, this one's going to be a real interesting matchup. I mean, on both sides of the ball, because generally, I would say I wouldn't be so overly concerned about it because generally the one thing about the Seahawks in the past is that they've always been light as far as on the defensive side of the ball. But They made some changes over the past couple of years, and they rebuilt their secondary is the other thing as well. So passing the ball is not going to be easy. So it's going to be a running game. The thing is going to really pan out. Can Geno replicate what he did last season? You know, he had a great season. Don't get me wrong, and happy for him. You know, but can he replicate that? And the other thing that's going to be a problem for them is their running game. That's what really slowed them down towards the end of the season. The running backs got hurt, so they really couldn't run the ball. So that's going to be the biggest problem they're going to have. So it's going to be interesting to see how we play against them. But again, I go back. That's going to be a tough one if everything is clicking on their side of the ball. But I still think defensively, if we're in good shape, I still think we win that game.
Yeah, and to a couple things to point out real quick that you mentioned, G-Wit. So their defense, they got a pair of young corners. They hit on that Tariq Woolen. He was like a 7th-round draft pick.
Yeah,
the guy got some blazing speed and actually got thrown in the fire last year. And Devin Witherspoon, they drafted out of Illinois, is probably one of the best, if not the best, DB coming out in this year's draft, this past year's draft. And so, then they add J. Lou, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, which we kind of talked about. Questionable health issues with hamstring there. He missed every game except for 3 last year. And so, and then they bring in Zach Charbonnet from UCLA to give him a 1-2 punch. To your point, G-Wit, to maybe solidify some depth in that backfield to help, as they get hurt. But J. Lou, Seahawks, man, at home, Christmas Eve. NFC West. What you gonna say? I'm gonna let you say it.
See, you know me too well, because if you just go back and look at the Titans schedules for the last 3 years, there's always an NFC game this week 16 or 17, and the last 2 or 3 of them, Vrabel has used those as a bye. Let's just be honest. And I know we've been hurt. I get it. I know we've had injuries and all, but I can just go by what the past is. So I'm putting that out. I preface what I say by putting that out there just in case. Yeah. But as far as the game goes, this is a game. Geno, again, I agree with you. Let's see if Geno can do it 2 years in a row. I think he's in the right team to try. Great call out about Kenneth Walker in that team. If he was on his way to being rookie of the year, with hands down before he got hurt or whatnot. And I think that the run game, Geno needs that, especially except his play action. The game, what we have to watch for with Geno in this game is he's got that Carson Wentz to him. And what I mean by that, because he's not like Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz was good for just throwing the ball down the field and getting pass interferences. And they have the receivers to do that. You talk about Jackson and I messed up his last name, but talking about him, I think he's in a perfect spot because when you got DK Metcalf and they still got Tyler Lockett, who is an underrated wide receiver in this league. You're asking him to come in and be the 3 as a rookie, and he's a suitable 3. They can, give you a spot or 2 here. So we've got to watch the pop shots. That he'll try to get the ball. Lockett will try to stretch the field. DK will get physical with our receivers. And now the thing about DK Metcalf, we've seen it. You can get in his head. Yep. You can easily get in his head. But yeah, they have. And again, I agree with you, G-Wit. 2 years ago, I would have said, Derrick Henry, and we saw it. We saw the comeback a couple years ago when we was down 14 almost in Seattle, and came back on Derrick Henry's back. They were light, but they've changed the whole front 7 of that defense. And again, their receivers. Pete Carroll has been the coach in the last 20 years that has unlocked the long DB. Because all their DBs seem to be long or whatnot, they can play well. So this would be, it's a good matchup. Again, this is what the 2 seed gets you instead of the number 1 seed. This would have been the 49ers again. But I just think if you could get to Geno still can give you some turnovers. So you can get there. We just got to watch the handful of pop shots going down the field and not get caught off guard.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of last season we played the Chargers. Even when we talked about the Chargers in our first part of the schedule review, this is where our little DBs are vulnerable. When you got a DK Metcalf that's like a 6'4", 220, 230 receiver, and you got little McCurry out there 5'8". You got Christian Fulton, it's like 5'10", so 180 pounds. This is when they get abused right here. So it's very imperative that pass rush gets there really fast and really quick and really often. So. I just think about that. Plus, they got Noah Fan. They got a good time. They got some pretty good skill position players. But again, like you guys both mentioned, is Geno Smith. Can he replicate what he did last year for this offense? Is going to be the key. Kwanye, man, thank you for joining. He said he just joined. Do we think that the Southwest flight against us is going to be a big deal? Basically, since the media is making such a issue out of it.
Yeah, no,
For
I saw that too. Now I think again, as we just said a few minutes ago, it'll come down to money and who'll give D Hop the most of it. I think he from seeing both sides of the visits, I'm pretty certain that a lot of the players were involved. So I think the visit overall was well. It'll just be a money at this factor.
Yeah, and Dion says, but we got a new secret, Tajay Spears. I think, Weapon X. I think he's going to be. I mean, it's going to be fun to see how they implement him in offense. It's going to be really fun, especially when he can split out and run routes, and you can put him in the slot. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting, man. Hopefully, Tim Kelly can be really creative. I'm excited about Tim Kelly because he did stuff with Davis Mills and the Texans, but they didn't have nothing like that, right? They didn't have those type of weapons, and so. I mean, you gotta think. I'm not gonna say sky's limit, but you gotta think it's gonna be way better than what it was.
I keep going back to what G Witt. That's the one thing G Witt has harped on is that go back and look at that Texas offense with Tim Kelly. He didn't have a deuce in the backfield, so I mean that's a weapon in itself. And he didn't have a Treylon Burks as a receiver. So I'm with you.
No, D Hop was gone. So
I think that he can get a little creative. It might be simplified, but again, sometimes simple is best. And if you hear the talk from all the players, just the tempo alone, we preach that a lot. I mean, it's sometimes you just go fast and even run the plays fast. That can make your whole offense look a lot better.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Dion, you're right, man. AJ Brown did punk Christian Fulton on that long touchdown pass. That's when he pulled his groin, supposedly. I think he was just embarrassed because he got ran over. So then you turn back around week 17, man. A couple weeks later, you got the Texans again on the road on New Year's Eve. Again, Jay Lou, man, it's just one of those games that time of year. You just know a little bit out there, man. It's going to be a tougher game than what we expect. I think the home game against the Texans that we'll probably beat them by a couple scores. But this game right here is going to be the one that you're going to be like, man, here we go. Late in the fourth quarter,
It's going to be the revenge game, man.
Right. And this is the first time in a very long time that I can think in the Titans' most recent schedule that you got important AFC South games near the end of the season. You always finish with the AFC South, but if I say we go back to back, and really you got 3 or 4 in the last 5 when you look at it. So, that's probably the one thing to your point where you can't afford to lay down. Yeah, this might be the revenge game, but you got to go in there because these games are important. And I mean, we saw some of these AFC South games is basically what cost you the division title last year, even though you jumped out to such a big lead in the division. So this would be a tough one, a holiday time frame again, going into the new year. And like G Wood said, if 2 weeks previous, if we thumped them real good, they'll have that place rocking down there for the revenge. Especially if we're in a semi-playoff position and they're not.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's really, really on.
Well, I would say this: if they come here and if we thump them, Rico Ryan's going to have them ready to play. That defense ready to play because this is not getting ready to happen 2 games in a row.
Yes,
they may win, but you will get out there and play better, and they won't win by as much. So that's the thing about it. Again. Plus, it's going to be during that time of year where the games get tough anyway, simply because of all the players with injuries and everything. You just don't know how it's going to pan out. And also looking at something like I said, C.J. Stroud, it'd be his second game against us, so he won't be as surprised by what he sees as he might be in that first game. So he'll be a little bit more comfortable as well if he's playing at that time. Again, we're talking about rookie quarterbacks and everything, so you really don't know. But and plus he runs good too, so that's the other thing about it. You got to watch out for him. That I forgot. He's a patient runner as a QB.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, he can't. But he's and they label that as a weakness of his.
Yeah,
but I think you'll see think you see the offensive line is not that good. He probably gonna run more than he's used to.
Yeah.
Now that's a strength in his game. Everybody labeled it as a weakness only because you see more dynamic runners like you do now. But really, him and our boy and Bryce Young at Carolina. Yeah, they're patient runners. They're going to be told, yeah, you run, but they're the type of quarterbacks who run. They don't just take off and run. They're not the typical spread quarterback where you're going to take off and run when you don't get your first read. They're trying to make sure they read the whole thing. So he's a patient runner. So he'll wait until the last minute, and if nothing's there, he's going to take off and run. And that's going to be the key for us is making sure we keep a spy on him. You almost got to treat him like Lamar Jackson. You got to keep a spy on him as a linebacker. A linebacker should be able, I would think, keep up with him. I don't think he's that fast, but you never know.
No, he's not that fast. Yeah. Right. He's a 4.6 guy. And, the other part of it is C.J. Stroud, he played against the NFL caliber defense against Georgia, and he really had his career game, right? And so you don't expect nothing less if he can play at that level with that talent and throw for over 407 yards. And he had some yards rushing, to your point, G-Wit. I think by this time of the year, you'll see him in his groove, and he probably going to be competing for that Rookie of the Year award at the end of the season. So, you're right. You got to take him off a little bit sooner. Don't discount Mills at QB. You're right, Taylor. Don't discount Davis Mills battling for that number one position. But we'll see what happens. Eddie Grant, man, what's good? Thank you for joining us tonight as well. And so the next week is week 18, and we see another familiar foe. We talked about these guys in the third quarter show. If you guys want to go back and watch that show later. But AFC champs last year, like you said, Jay Lou, earlier in the show, a couple players away. We're beating them with a third quarterback, basically, at that point in time. The Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, we know they got beat by the Chiefs in the divisional round, 27-20. It's on the road, 12 o'clock kickoff with Sunshine, G-Wit, man. And second time around, talk to me, because I believe we said this the first time the Titans would get that one. And what about this game, though?
Well, in all honesty, I'm expecting the Titans to get this one too. I'm just being, you can call me Sunshine if you want to, because I'm just a sunny outlook.
No.
But
I agree with you.
But no, I just think really, like you said last year, I always go back to this and those games that we played them last year. Really, you think about it, all of them came down to turnovers. If we don't turn the ball over against them, and granted, they created some turnovers in their first game especially, but if we don't turn the ball over against them, we win the game. So the key with Jacksonville was good about creating turnovers last year. Are they going to be able to replicate that again?
Right.
And I think what we found, and I'm interested to see the King this season, because last season he had more fumbles than he has ever had in a season.
Right.
So I'm interested to see the adjustments that he made. And again, if he's not turning the ball over, if Tannehill is not throwing interceptions, we're going to win the game. Because defensively, we can hang with them. Because they hadn't changed much offensively, in all honesty. Defensively, we can hang with them. Offensively is our problem. We just kept turning the ball over. And that last game, like you said, if it wasn't for that fumble by Josh Dobbs, we may win that one.
Not only, like you said, not only did we turn the ball over, we also had Dennis Daly. And so we don't have that Dennis Daly this year. So, and that made Eric Key, they made him some money this offseason. He signs with us, but they made him some money because he was fucking him. But go ahead, Jay. Look.
Yeah, no, that's why Derrick Henry had the fumble problems, is because he was getting tackled by his old lineman. But this is so again another scheduling quirk. This is the first time I think in 3 years, if not 4, that the Titans will have a closing game at home. Usually we've been on the road the last 4 AFC games to be week 18. So to be at home, also you got your home crowd behind them. You got the hated rival in the Jaguars. They've been the hated since 1999. And I agree with everything G Wit said. I think Sunshine. I think he's the real deal. By far, he's probably the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, in the conference. But I agree. Their offensive line really doesn't scare me. He's lost his left tackle, and I just think that we saw what our defensive line did to him for 2 games. And if you take away the turnovers, if you take away the turnover here in Nashville and the tip drill interception that turned into a touchdown for him before halftime, and then if we have a different official for the week 18 game, because the same play happened the next week and it was called an incomplete pass, it's a different story. So now again, this isn't the same Jags of Urban's area when they had good old Urban Meyer. So Doug Peterson is a good coach. I'm not going to take that away from him. But again, I just think we're overall a better team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to be able to get after them. So it's going to be this in theory should be an AFC Championship game again. These to me, these are the 2 top teams that you would think would be in the AFC South this year. So in theory, this should be an AFC Championship game. And again, I'm just glad you got it at home. And go handle business.
Yeah.
What game was that when Dennis Daly tackled Derrick Henry in the backfield? I can't remember. Diaz said he was looking it up, and I was thinking.
I'm thinking it was either week 17 or 16. It was in
we did it twice.
Yeah, he did it twice. One game he tackled him twice though.
It's one of them was Green Bay. I think one of them was Green Bay.
One of them's Green Bay, and then the last one is whatever game that I got hurt. The lineman. The lineman that was going to replace Daly.
Dylan.
Yeah, whatever game Radens got hurt, he tackled him in the backfield in that one as well.
Yeah. Now, and for Taylor, he's talking about we're going to beat the Jackson home. I was like, yeah, exactly. See, here's the thing people forget about Jacksonville, and this is one of their biggest issues. They still have not developed a strong running game. And I'm sorry. You get into that time of the year, you got to be able to run the ball. And Jacksonville, for the past couple of years, now they got away with it last year. I'm not going to deny them that. But they still have not developed a good, strong running game.
Yeah, and they drafted a running back out of Auburn to help solidify that. Maybe we'll see. Take Bigsby, is 6 foot 210. So we'll see, man. Like you said, they hadn't established a good run game yet. Now there's film on Jacksonville, right? We didn't know exactly what they were going to look like on offense early on last year because they had a first-year coach. We kind of figured what was going on because he was in that type of Philly system, that spread them out type of shotgun type thing. And but again, I agree with you, J. Lou. I think this is the South Championship. I think the difference is going to be we're going to sweep the Colts and the Texans this year, and we're going to have to get one of these against them to solidify the division. And so, just some more comments here. 2 words: confident, Malik. Yeah. Everybody is laughing, Dylan right there. Hey, Taylor calls you Sunshine Whittington. So, the Titans going to beat the Jaguars at home. Taylor, we don't believe that. We believe the Titans are going to beat the Jags at home. And so, it's going to be a different. The atmosphere is going to be different this year because now we have better coaches on both sides of the ball. That we saw Chris Harris mic'd up and the energy he was bringing to the secondary. I still think, man, I know people are going to disagree, and that's fine. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I still think Caleb Farley is going to do something for this team this year. I'm not with him yet. Until I see him play when he's not hurt, we're going to see. I could be wrong, and I'll take it.
Hey, look, if he could turn into a Dane Cruikshank and come out on the field and play coverage against tight ends and everything, if he can do that, I'm all for it. And be a special teams guy, I'm all for it.
Dane Cruikshank's still sitting out there too, ain't he?
He was good on special teams last year until he got hurt, but that's his problem. He can't stay healthy.
Right. Yeah, your boy's still out there, G. Witt. I don't think he's sound with anybody. He must be hurt. He must not be healthy.
He may not be because, he spent a couple of years unhealthy with us.
Right. Yeah. We do too, Dion. Want to sweep the Colts bad. That's right. And flip the point of where that's his own wife. Golly,
Oh,
Taylor.
Taylor,
Taylor
that's
said
cold.
prototypical iPad holder. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He's still, hey, I agree. Eddie Gray just hit it right on the head. You can't coach that 4.2 speed. And if he get
No.
healthy, special
Yeah.
teams is
Yeah.
even
But
good.
it
I
don't do
agree.
you any good if it's on the bench.
That's right. Exactly. A gunner would work well for him. Because we saw that. He can tackle. He just can't stay.
Yeah, he can tackle. But like, his problem was coverage. He couldn't cover.
He couldn't go man to man. He was getting toasted.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this is what we're saying about coaching. How many times in the last 2 years have we sit on here and talked about Anthony Midget?
Oh,
yeah, so I'm with you.
Same boat with
yeah,
Downey, right?
yeah, exactly. So I'm with you. It's at this point in time because I think Harris is a special coach. Like I don't expect him to be here long. And to your point, you can't coach speed. Let's see if he can coach technique. Because I agree with you. When he couldn't cover, but tackling he was a tackling machine when he stayed on the field. I expect him. You expect that he probably. I think he would be midway through camp. You might hope that he can come off the PUP. Same thing with Harold Landry. You're hoping that he's off. You want them to be off PUP going in because I think if they're on going into the season, then they're out at least 6 weeks.
Yeah,
the first 6 weeks or so. So I think I'm hopeful that the only one we have in that boat will be Dylan Radins, who again, unfortunately for him, I think he's out the entire year.
Yeah.
I don't. They should. I don't think. I think they've learned their issues about trying to rush these guys back, and I don't think you see him. I think you just see him continue to get healthy, and hopefully he's ready for next year.
Well, and again, my whole thing, especially with Landry, because the biggest problem I had last year was that he was never in practice the whole time they were in training camp last year, and then all of a sudden you hear that he tore his ACL. So it's going to be interesting to see how that recovery comes and whether, like you said, J. Lou, if he can come into camp not being on the PUP list.
Yeah,
if he come in like that, then what you're looking at, what they're going to be doing then is he's going to be used sparingly at the beginning of the season. You hope to have him full speed by November.
Yeah, I was going to say you want to run the Jeff Simmons playbook with him.
Yeah,
we had Simmons started playing in October, but really by November, December that year, you was like, oh, he's something special. And
he's so special. Yeah.
No. Let's clear this thing up real quick.
Well,
he came back in game 6 against the Chargers, and on his second play, he let you know that he was special.
Yes,
he blew up that offensive lineman, man.
He did. You're right. And so it's going to be interesting to see again, and to go back to something you said, J. Lou, on it might have been the first when we did the first quarter schedule show about Chris Harris. You said, and I'm gonna quote you, and I might be wrong, but you can repeat. You said, "Don't be surprised if Shane Bowen has gone to Chris Harris, the defensive coordinator, next season."
I'm no. I got to give that credit to our guy Dion. He did. Okay. Dion said it. Okay. Yeah, Dion said it in the chat, and we agreed with him because that's exactly right.
Whoa.
Yeah. Right. And it was funny about we talking about Landry and his injury last year. What was funny was, they really didn't say a lot about Landry, but when we saw him, when me and J. Lou went down there that day, he was over in the sand pit.
Yep.
And so that tells me he probably had an issue with his hamstring. And they just didn't say it. Another soft tissue injury. And then, that I know, when some hamstrings start getting big, give you issues, what's next? ACL's the next thing to go.
Next on the list. Next on the list. Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing that's going to be interesting about it. To see how he comes back and how he's able to play. I agree with you. They should use the Jeff Simmons playbook on him as far as just bringing him back slowly. Because again, when Jeff Simmons came back, he was playing with the brace, but he was only playing maybe 10, 15 plays a game. Yeah. And granted, he was making an impact, but it was a big deal. So, but really. With Jeff and really we got to see Jeff that he played a lot in that San Diego game. I think it was still San Diego then, the Chargers game, because again when they were on the goal line trying to win the game, he was huge as far as plugging that hole up and stopping them. And actually, when you think about after that was Ryan Tannehill's first game as well, and after that we went on the road.
Yeah,
we went on the road. So my thing is with Harold Landry coming back. Use them sparingly, if you can, especially at the beginning of the season. And the thing you like about having him back on that defense, you have somebody on that side of the ball who not only rushes the passer but also plays the run.
Plays a run. That's exactly what I was.
That's the thing we were really missing last year. We had people
setting
rushing
the edge,
but
right?
they would get beat, tagged on the run. And Harold Landry plays the run extremely well. So,
that's what hurt us against Jacksonville in that game at home.
Yes.
Is when Sunshine got outside the pocket and they lost containment, and that's what really beat them.
Yeah.
That's what really beat them in that game. And, as we wrap up our schedule review, man, you look at after the bye week, the Titans have 5 AFC South games, and that's a lot. After the bye, especially with the bye being so early, you know. So, and it's gonna be tough, man. You throw the Steelers in there, and I mean the AFC North. You got the Bengals again, of course, and the Browns, which you think it's gonna be much improved this year. Of course, you got Baltimore, which is a nasty rival game for us, and it's going to be pretty tough. And then, like you said, J. Lou, before we see all the rookie quarterbacks this year, the top 3 quarterbacks this year, all the top drafted quarterbacks, and the kryptonite to Vrabel with Joe Burrow. And so it's going to be very interesting. Kyle Phillips is going to be the key. I think he's going to be the key. Taylor, I agree with you, man. He's going to be the key to the offense this year.
Can he stay healthy? That's going to be the key.
Can he stay healthy?
That's for the whole team, though.
That is.
You know, the past 2 years have been so bad with injuries and everything. That's for the whole team. Can we make it through? And I know, and again, we're not talking about players being 100%, but players being available to play. That's the key. Are they available?
That's the key.
Kyle Phillips.
That's the difference.
Kyle Phillips needs another wide receiver to either step up to be the 2, or I preface by saying this is where D-Hop helps Kyle Phillips.
Yeah.
Because you want Kyle Phillips to be that Humphreys role. And I think last year we tried to make him a 2A. And let's just be honest, he's a 3. He's a solid 3, which to me, a 3 is a slot specialist. And if you have him strictly just being a slot specialist, I agree with what Taylor said. He can be something special along with the other 2. But I think just looking at our lineup, you need another receiver to really separate and be a 2, so that you're not asking him to do as much.
I already told you. I already told you he's gonna be the 2.
Oh yeah, my guy from my UT Martin Skyhawk.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. If they don't sign D-Hop, he is number 2.
Yes,
he's definitely number 2.
100% agree. 100%.
And I'll be honest with you, he's gonna shock some people. I'm telling you. He's going to shock
you.
Yes,
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And speaking of Kyle Phillips, his biggest thing he needs to learn, in all honesty, he needs to learn how to go across the middle and get down.
Yeah, he got real quick.
Get down. Don't.
Just not college.
Take those hits.
Nah,
especially you have to go up against Cincinnati because they're hunting for blood when you go across the middle.
Yes, they do.
All you got to do is ask Adam Humphries. He got clocked and didn't play no more.
Yeah. And I will say, Kyle Phillips do look like he put on a little bit of muscle.
Yeah,
when you saw that. And so, because again, I'll be honest, I still think now that I think he had a lot of pressure, like all these rookies, to go out there and want to just prove your spot. I think now that he's probably settled in, even though it was a terrible year for him, I still think Kyle Phillips is our best punt return on the team. Hands down. Hands down. We saw when he go back and look at that Giants game. I mean, a small sample, but look at a couple punt returns on that Giants game that he had.
He averaged 20 yards that game.
Yes.
But again, it's one of them things where he's got to learn how to get down.
Get down.
Yeah. You got to get down.
Because you got that slight frame. You got to get down. So you got to get what you can get and get down. You can't be looking to try to make the big play. If the big play comes, it comes. Yeah. But you get what you can and you get down. Because you're too, even with added muscle, you're too light.
Yeah.
Even with added muscle, you're too light. So you got to learn how to get down. So I think, really, in all honesty, I don't disagree with you about the punt return and everything. I think he'll be great. I think we'll probably see Haskins being the kick returner again.
Yeah.
And because, I thought he did a good job, overall for the season, being the kick returner and everything. But I still think I look at the receiver, Burks, Phillips, and our boy from UT Martin being the top 3 receivers if they don't sign D-Hop.
Yeah.
Nicholas Kenny may be on the team, but he's gonna be number 4. He might be number 3 if Kyle Phillips stays there.
Yeah.
Special teamer.
Yeah, that's
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
Defensively, I'm interested to see how we're going to look because that's going to be key.
Yeah, and somebody said it earlier that the key is going to be to the defensive gelling. And if you look at all the quarterbacks we got to face, of course, we don't have Pat Mahomes this year like we had the last couple of seasons, but, we got Justin Haber, you got Deshaun Watson, you got Joe Burrow, then you got the rookies like we mentioned, you got Lamar Jackson. And so you got some guys there that, could give you some problems. Of course, if Tua's healthy, he's one of the better quarterbacks as well. And so, and then not to discount the rest of the guys in the division, Sunshine, and we don't know what Anthony Richardson is going to be yet. That'll be a wait and see type game, but yeah. And so look at Taylor as a former X receiver. I agree with it. Get down for it. Hey man, we appreciate y'all joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Eddie Arnell, G with J. Lou.
Yes, sir.
Schedule review show 11-6. G Whip.
Say again.
11-6.
Nah, better than that.
What? No. J. Lou, we don't usually get this much.
That's why I had to look and see if so. G went across the pond and came back to somebody else. He said better than that already.
Okay. What you say, J. Lou?
I think 10-7, 11. I can see 11-6. I think is the high end. I think they can get 10 wins with this schedule. I'm always gonna give them 2 losses that they don't need to have because that's just the NFL. So they're gonna have 2 that we're gonna do a show on, and I'm gonna be like, oh, this is one of them that we just gave up on. But I think 10 or 11 wins. I think that this defense is going to be top 5. This is underrated defense. I think we have one of the top 3 safety combos in the league that doesn't get talked about. And I just think that when you look at it, that side of the ball is going to carry us enough. And again, go back and just for everybody who's hated on Tannehill for a Cincinnati Bengals, he picked the worst day to have 3 interceptions. Go back and look at it. And if you look at any film from last year, you realize that he's the best quarterback on this team, period. I know, and what G would say, we like to see how they've looked in shorts and t-shirts. Tannehill looks the same in pads. So I'm not sold on Malik yet. I'm not sold on the rookie. Tannehill is our best option. And again, I think that he can win. This team can win 11 games just because I like that. Just because Vrabel being a coach, and I love what Vrabel has done with his staff. We've always talked about the one thing we said about Vrabel is he hires all his friends. Yeah, Tim Kelly was a rehire, somebody he knew. But look at the people that he brought in that put in key positions this year on his staff. I think that's him finally playing that coach CEO role. And I think that's where you'll see the difference in this team.
Yeah, and I agree with that because that's the other thing about it. He made some good. I think he made some needed transitions on that coaching staff that had to be done.
Yeah.
Of course, first thing, and I remind everybody, remember the one of the problems you had with Tannehill in that playoff game against Cincinnati, he that shall not be named was calling the plays.
Yes.
And let's just remember that. And the following and last year, you saw the result of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because bottom line was everybody caught up with him.
Yep.
Everybody caught up with him. And
it was hard to keep up with him.
Yeah, it wasn't because because you said it last year. After the first 15 plays, you knew exactly
where it's going. Yep.
So there was no need.
That was the crazy part about it. And we sitting up at the stand, I'm telling G when I say, here come these players. Here they go.
Every time. And again, that's what we're talking about here. And that's what I will say again. What Vrabel, that's another thing that Vrabel means about us being the slowest team on the field. Because if you notice last year, we took forever coming out the huddle.
All the time.
Forever. Long time.
Right.
And so, and to Jay Lou's point, one of the things we never did was change the pace. We never change the pace, never pick up the pace to try to get the offensive rhythm or anything. That's what I'm saying. This is why I say this is a whole different. To me, it's a whole different team. Mm-hmm. And again, my whole key for this team right now is availability.
Yes.
Everybody being available.
Yeah.
to play the game. And I think that, I mean, we got a long stretch just like we did last year. You know, we got an early bye and we got a long stretch of games after the bye. So it's going to be one of them things about people being available.
External pessimist, external optimist. It's possible. I got Ali Taylor.
And, you know, Taylor's got his own problems, man. He's worried about the Commanders, man. You know, he got his own problems.
He's gonna play quarterback. But anyway, so let me say this, and then we'll jump off. Just remember that Molin's been getting reps at safety for Hooker, because Hooker's not gonna probably make it through the whole season without getting hurt. I'm just saying.
No.
I'm just saying. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, believe it or not, I think Verber's going to be the difference this year. Yeah, you're right. 7-game slide.
I 100% agree about that one.
Yeah. I think you see it, man.
He's never come out at the end of the season talking about players and the team.
Yes.
Never. I'm telling you, if they start camp back and you see the ones in preseason, there you go. You better get ready for. I'm with you. 12, maybe 13 games.
Yeah.
Mark it down.
Yeah.
Hey man, thank God for another episode of Halftime Adjustment. LFG with J. Lou.
Yes, sir.
We out here, man. Look out for the next show. We'll send that information out, and we'll catch y'all next time, man. Peace.